As far as learning to let go of my belief and my thoughts, that can be very, very tough because you believe your thoughts. That's what makes it hard. I mean, some of the thoughts maybe you can let go of a little easier, but some of the thoughts you really, really, really believe. And so just to say, I don't believe this thought, it is kind of, it feels like you're lying to yourself because you do. I mean, and you know you do. So when I would run across these thoughts that I really, really, really believed, but I also knew through discernment that it was ego, knew through discernment that somehow it must not be true. You know, it must be illusion, although I couldn't imagine how, because I really believed it. The place I started with those thoughts is saying, I am willing to be willing to not, I'm willing to be willing to not believe this thought. I had to start what I would call way, way, way back at the beginning because I was so sure that what I was believing was true. I had to say, I am willing to be willing to not believe this thought. And that is the beginning of willingness. And as I would do that every time, consistently, regardless of how much I believe the thought, say, I am willing to be willing to not believe this thought. Eventually that moved into a very natural, I am willing to not believe this thought. So I moved closer to the point of letting it go. And then as I would say, I am willing to not believe this thought in a very consistent way, I began to move from there into, I don't have to believe this thought, and I don't want this thought. And that's where the real letting go process began, because then I would see I don't have to believe this thought. I mean, I would really just see it. A thought that I once thought was so true, I would get to the point where I saw I don't have to believe this thought. Truly see it. It was no longer lying to myself. And that's where the letting go started. So it started with being willing to be willing to not believe the thought, and then it moved into I am willing to not believe the thought, and then it moved into I don't have to believe this thought, I choose to let it go now. Again, if you like timelines, Steve, I would guess 2 years in some cases to get from willing to be willing to, I don't have to believe this thought. You know, depending on how deep the thought was. So again, it's not overnight stuff in some cases, but it is consistency. And to be honest, to move from the way I thought and felt 3 years ago to the way I think and feel now in only 3 years is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This is what consistency does. You know, just being consistent, keep doing it, keep trusting the Holy Spirit, and it works. It works, it works, it works. Any other questions about letting go of thoughts?